Welcome to the Whitetail Obsession Podcast with Dave Richmond and co-host Chris Worthing, where we talk and teach everything deer and turkey hunting related. Follow along as we help teach you tips and techniques about hunting, food plots, and habitat management strategies that everyone can use.
Chris, podcast 72. There's several things going on right now.
There is several things happening.
One, the light is blaring off your forehead. Two, you are injured. Right? You're injured.
I'm tweaked.
And three, we're going to have an argument on this podcast.
We are going to argue this
Argue it out.
and everybody's going to laugh.
Yes.
They're already laughing at our bald heads.
Yep. I don't think anybody on any of my YouTube videos have ever seen me without a hat. And it's just a common thing that I do. I wear a hat. But yeah.
Me too. But
I'm bald.
I actually have some hair, but man, this lighting is horrible.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
got hair,
two bald guys arguing.
Looks like you got attacked by a raccoon.
Two bald guys arguing. Two
All
old
right.
bald guys. Oh,
So
gosh.
here's the plan for everybody listening. Today is Thursday. We're actually recording a day later than normal.
So Dave's playing the good guy, and I'm playing the bad guy.
Yep. And then tomorrow I leave for Pennsylvania to go to Chris's house. And we're staying there the weekend, and we're going to fish some lakes up in, what's that, Jefferson?
We're going to be cranking and yanking.
Is it Jefferson County?
Well, where I live at, yeah. But I think where we're going.
Don't say the name of the lake.
I'm not.
It's a secret.
But it's over. It's in a different county next to me.
Okay.
So, and
All right.
actually, the lake splits two counties. I guess is from what I was looking on the map.
Ooh. All right. Yeah. So I'm heading up there. We're gonna do some fishing, and I'm sure we'll probably shoot a video or something. But we have a
If
whole
it's
weekend.
not downpouring.
Yeah, we're gonna set Chris's cameras up. He's got a bunch of reveals we're gonna set up because he's computer challenged, and we're gonna go from there. But today's podcast, it's not necessarily an argument. It's just a debate. Not really even a debate. It's just two different sides of a situation.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Yep, and I'm gonna be for it. So
Okay.
it's spring and summer food plots,
Mhm.
basically. And your argument is that you're saying that it's more of that people are doing it more and more because it seems like the cool thing to do.
It's so cool right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. They want to be food plotters.
Mm-hmm.
And you get on Facebook and everybody's got a little piece of heaven scratched out, and they've got a million questions, but they've already in their heads they already know what they're gonna do, but they're on there asking, what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
How should I attempt this? Or
Yep.
here's a picture of what I'm doing.
Yeah, and the other argument, and we'll go into detail with that. And there's some stuff that I agree with you, but the other side of it too is, if you plant spring and summer food plots, you're fighting weeds.
You're giving it all away.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
All
Let's
right.
argue.
All right, let's argue.
Remember, you're the good guy. I'm the bad guy.
I will smack you.
So be nice. I can be mean.
Yeah. All right. You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
I don't care.
All right.
So
I'll go first.
So we can officially name it.
Yeah, name it.
Why do you want to plant a spring and summer food plot?
Mm-hmm.
What's your reason for it?
Okay.
That's what it's going to be about.
I'll go in detail. I'll go very, very detailed. All right. I do advocate spring and summer food plots, depending on the property, the situation. There's me personally, I plant spring and summer food plots all the time, every year, but it's typically not necessarily to feed deer. It's just to improve the soil. When I go to clients, sometimes I recommend planting them because they're in a situation, one, to improve soil, or two, is because they're in a situation where they have large enough plots to where they can actually start feeding deer. Maybe it's like a big wooded area and they're limited on food source, so they're planting spring and summer food plots. So in my case, I'm usually planting smaller food plots, so I'm planting something to improve the soil. But since I've done this for so long, I like to experiment because I make YouTube videos, you make videos, so I like to experiment so I can give different results to the audience when I'm making videos. So, do you really need to plant a spring and summer food plot? No, you don't have to. It just depends on your goals. Um, in big woods areas, planting spring or summer food plots, I think can be more beneficial to you than it would be if you were in an ag setting planting spring or summer food plots because it doesn't make sense. Um, some people will say that planting spring or summer food plots, you can't improve a deer herd. That that's an argument. I think it just really depends. I mean, I think that we proved that at the old farm was constantly having food source there spring and summer and the fall. It drastically improved the deer herd. Um, I think there's a lot of cons to it, but there's also a lot of positive. If you're planting spring and summer food plots and you want to get on the trend of planting, soybeans, most people are going to fail at it. Like, do you really need to plant soybeans? Probably not. The other part of this is weeds. You're going to have weeds. Me personally, I've done it for so long that I know how to kind of mitigate weed issues because I'm not going out there disking just for the heck of it and leaving bare soil. I'm always having something in there. Like my plots now are clover. Very minimal grass is coming up through there because it's thick and lush. Weeds can't come up. Now I'm getting ready to actually burn that off and plant soybeans. I'm planting a mix from Domain because I want to experiment with it. Would I tell the average person to do that? Probably not, because I would tell them to probably plant something like, buckwheat or oats or maybe an annual clover. Or it just really, there's so many variances. Um, I don't really have weed issues. Sometimes, some weeds may come up, sometimes they don't. And obviously, if you're spending the money on, your seed and your fertilizer, you want that seed to grow. You don't want weeds to grow. So I'm seeing a lot of failures in the spring and summer because I agree with your part of saying that it's cool to do. I'm seeing photos online on social media where I'm sure you've seen the same ones where people are in the middle of the woods, they're just blowing out or raking out a 10-yard strip by 20 yards and trying to plant something. Well, in reality, what is that going to do? Oh, nothing. Like that's not doing anything. So there obviously a balance to it. Can it be done? Yeah, I do it every single year. I plant spring and summer food plots. Would I tell the average person to do that? Probably not. But like I said, I've done it for so many times that I know how to kind of fudge thing either way, to make it work. And depending on goals, does somebody need to plant it? Well, if you're trying to feed the deer and you're limited on food, you're in a big wood setting and there's no ag around, sure, it's going to help. What's the alternative? To leave bare soil and not do anything? So, like you always say, plant 365. Well, think about, I think most people should think about improving the soil instead of feeding the deer. Feed the deer in the fall so you can hunt over it. But it all goes back to goals. You should always start with habitat improvement through timber cutting, but most people can't do that. So they rely on their food plots to feed the deer. But I think that, again, most people should focus on improving soil instead of feeding deer through the spring and summer. They focus on fall food plots and stop following trends on social media of it's springtime, I have to plant something. No, you don't have to plant something. Think of your goals. Stop following other people and what they're doing and focus on yourself. Don't follow what somebody else is doing. It's okay to ask questions, but don't do it just for the fun of it. You should More people should do it for a certain goal. What is the goal of what am I going to do, or why am I planting buckwheat? What is my end goal? And I have a video called, like, I think it's something to do with buckwheat and your soil. The soil is your bank account. Improve the soil, put the money into the soil at first, upfront costs. So therefore, later on, it rewards you by not having to put anything into it, and it's giving you a better crop. The same with farmers. Put the extra cover crops in, put the cost up front, and it'll reward you later on. So that's my argument with it. And every soil is different. Some people might have a heck of a uh, uh, why can't I think of the name of the weed that comes up? Anyway,
Ragweed.
ragweed. Some spots, I mean, I've seen them literally overtaken by ragweed. Stuff grows like like crazy. So every situation is different. You may have to get into herbicide use and control. There's so many variances, but Chris will, I'm sure he'll explain this on his side. But stop doing it because it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do it with a goal in mind. That's my argument with it.
Okay. Time to be the bad guy.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot of social pressure out there that people want to do it because it's cool. If they're not doing it to improve the soil, like you're saying, they're doing it because it's cool or they think they're feeding a deer. Okay. So, why do you want to start your process in the spring or summer? Well, I would say that you need to back it up. You can't start something from scratch in the spring and summer. That's just not a good idea. You can, but it's not a good idea. And I'm going to explain why. Okay. This year, I seen and received a bunch of questions of people because frost seeding is a buzzword. Everybody wanted to frost seed, get clovers and chicories in the ground, you know, on unprepared soil. And they explain which. But they wanted to, use this frost seeding and just start their plots out. And they thought, as soon as the temperature rose up, past 60, 70 degrees, that they was going to start seeing something popping out of the ground. And how many times was people on Mike's page saying, "Hey, I planted this 3 weeks ago, and I don't see nothing yet," because they don't understand,
Hmm.
and they're not. And I'm not talking down to anybody, but you understand I'm being the devil's advocate on this argument that you're not understanding. You're a newbie at this, and it doesn't have anything to do with air temperature. It has to do with soil temperature. But anyhow, let's reverse it a little bit. So if you want a spring and summer plot, last fall you should have prepared your ground, okay? Which means weed control should have been done then. Soil health and soil samples should have been done either then or first thing in the spring. Because if your soil is not, your pH and things are not on point, all you're going to be growing is weeds mainly. I mean, you're going to get a little bit of some clover coming here and there, but you're not optimal. I mean, and weeds will grow in any soil, good, bad, or ugly. So you're going to be behind the eight ball if you think you're just going to go scratch a piece of plot out somewhere with a rake and throw some seed down and have a plot. It's just not going to happen, right? So if you're planning on scratching something out, scratch it out, you know, the summer before. Get something planted in there that's going to come up first thing in the spring, like a grain or a clover or chicory. Get it started in the fall. That way you're not fighting the weed growth. And then you can do your frost seeding in March or whatever, is best for you, and help that along, fill in blank spots, bare spots, whatever. So have your soil amended, have it ready to go. Because if you don't have it ready to go, like this time of the year and you think you're going to plant something, you're already behind the 8 ball. So you need to be planning ahead. So I'm going to say that you get started in the fall. You make sure you have a soil test, which a lot of the newbies are trying to skip. I see a million questions on these Facebook forums about what type of fertilizer should I use for clover. You know, I mean, yeah, you need some starter fertilizer, but you're worried about fertilizer first when you need to have your pH right. If
Mm-hmm.
your pH isn't right, your fertilizer is not going to work for you. And let me explain that. And I've said it a million times on this. Yeah, I've explained this a lot of times. If your pH is down around 5.0 or 5.3, only 50% of your fertilizer that you're putting in the dirt is working for you. 50%. Fertilizer is expensive. I just bought Dave 4 bags to use at his uncle's farm. 4 bags cost $80.
That's for my farm, son.
Well, whatever you want to call it. I don't know where it's at, but anyhow,
You don't know.
80 bucks. So take half of your 80 bucks and just throw it away, because if your pH isn't on point, you're wasting fertilizer and
And
your money.
you can compare that to fertilizers. What did you say it was? $18 a bag.
Yeah, it was almost 19 bucks a bag.
Lime is $5 a bag.
Yeah.
Spend your resource on lime and not fertilizer.
It's cheaper to make your pH correct and then start buying the fertilizer you need. Okay, I'm getting off on the rabbit trail here, but yeah, get the soil test done. Have your plot prepared. If you want to frost seed, go ahead and do that come March time or whatever. And if you want a spring and summer plot, you can add to that area in the spring or summer. Now, if you're just starting out in spring and summer, you've got a lot of work to do. You really do. Um, like David said, a lot of times if you start breaking ground this time of year to go ahead and plant something, you're going to have a lot of ragweed. There might already be goldenrod, yellow rocket, chickweed, PA smartweed, stuff like that you're going to be dealing with. And a lot of that stuff, yeah, they say it's annual, but you don't control a lot of that by mowing. You know, you see on the Facebook forums, the guys are saying, just mow it. Don't use chemicals. Well, that's easy to say if you're going to mow just like it's your lawn, but it's not going to control the smart weed, the chickweed. You need to spray that type of thing.
Yeah, think of your yard. You mow your yard, it grows right back. It doesn't
Yeah,
kill the grasses.
no, it doesn't. So there's stuff out there that you're not going to kill by just mowing. It just
Hmm.
keeps coming back and coming back. So you're going to have a fight on your hands. And a lot of times it overtakes what you've planted, especially if it's a perennial. Perennials grow so slow that the grasses and weeds overtake them. So keep that in mind. Did I miss anything? What was I? I don't know.
Sounded good.
What else can we say?
Well,
What else can I raise a question about?
I would say too, what you said, if you're like on my side, if you're planting spring and summer and it's a brand new plot, like you may need to go into that area and burn it to the ground. Glyphosate, 2,4-D, grasses, we kill it dead. 2 weeks later, disc it, wait for anything to regrow,
Yeah,
spray it again. Like there's a process with everything.
but let it be known that the 2,4-D has a residual behind it, and
It
that
does.
you're gonna have to wait at least 3 weeks before you plant,
Hmm.
because it will stay in the dirt for a while.
Yeah,
Now the
it's
gly, they claim as soon as it hits the dirt, it neutralizes. You could seed and spray the same day. I still don't trust that. I would still wait a couple weeks, but that's my opinion.
yeah, it's. I mean, there's prepping anything. Even if you're starting, say you're just doing fall plots, you
Mhm.
still got to prep it.
Yeah, sure.
In the summer, you still got to spray. Clean that area up, get a good seed bank,
Yeah.
and like you said too, a lot of guys are skipping all the important steps because
Right.
one, either they're just not educated to do it, or they're just so excited, like, hey, I want to plant a plant a plot, so they go do it, and they skip all the important steps. Like majority of the people that I see on these forums and stuff that are posting pictures, like, hey, I planted this a couple weeks ago, it doesn't look good, and if you look at it, I can tell you right away within 2 seconds on what's wrong with it. Most of them, one, usually it's the plants, they're just flopped over. Majority of the cases, the plants are just flopped over. It's either low pH or lack of sun.
Yeah.
And guy, you can't just go in the woods and just plant something without sunlight. Like you have to have sun.
Well, how many pictures did you see this spring of people saying, "I want to plant in the woods," and they had a picture of their woods, and it was just a forest,
Hmm.
you know. And as soon as the leaves come on, that place would be so shaded out.
Hmm.
You know, a lot of the seed needs 6 hours of filtered sunlight
Yeah.
minimum.
I seen
Minimum.
somebody said yesterday, somebody was asking, what can I plant in the woods with like no sun? Somebody commented and said, plant oats. They grow anywhere. No, they don't. You got to have sunlight.
Still, yeah, you need it.
It's just not going to work out too well. And usually, these wood plots are very acidic. The soil's very acidic,
Hmm.
and all that. So again, spring and summer food plots definitely have a place, but just
It's
like with
you
anything
gotta
else,
have a plan, and you
have a
have to do the
plan.
preparation.
It's all about prep. It's all about prep.
It's
Or
all.
you get the guys that plant something and then 2 days later they are online posting saying it's not germinated.
Hmm.
It's dude, like it takes time. Like give it time. You
I
gotta
mean,
have.
Mike from Domain, I don't know. He made probably 3 different videos where
Hmm.
he specifically said, "Guys, give it time, be patient. Our ground temperature isn't even over 50 yet,
Hmm.
you know, and
Yep.
optimal's 60, but you can get stuff to grow, germinate when the ground's between 50 and 60, but optimal is warmer, obviously.
Hmm.
But these people are all posting this stuff, planted this, planted that. I don't see anything. Should I replant it? And he literally came on there 3 times, made 3 different videos saying you need to be patient, just
Yep.
wait. And then, you know, in the beers and bucks section when they're having their podcast, like guys are typing, should I till this back up and replant it? And of course he just skips over those questions, I mean, because
Hmm.
he's not going to address silly stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, like I mean, your annual seeds love heat. Like think of annual seeds. What are cowpeas, soybeans, sunflowers, Egyptian wheat,
Incognito.
incognito. Your like that stuff. Buckwheat. I don't know if I said that, but it loves heat.
Hmm.
It loves heat. Like you gotta wait. Like what's today? May.
Like we're nearing June, and I mean it's prime time. Like the first week of June is going to be it, man.
Today's May 9th. Technically, I
Tech,
could plant.
tech, we could
Technically,
probably get away with it, but
get away with it.
you
But
might get a frost. You might get a stray frost
it's
here.
still very possible that you get a frost.
Yep.
I could have maybe planted 2 weeks ago. The soil temp is it's still borderline.
Yeah.
Um, but where I'm at, Western PA, where my farm is, the ideal time to plant seems to be like Memorial Day weekend. That seems to be the safe point.
Yeah.
It's adequate, and by waiting longer, you're allowing the weeds to grow for you to kill them. So a lot of guys plant in end of April, early May, and the weeds haven't even really germinated yet. So they go to plant, then you get the warmer temps, and then you get a flush of weeds,
Big flush.
and then it's like, what happened? Well,
It
no,
just smothers you out.
you wait till the weeds
Are
have grown,
established.
have the adequate soil temperatures, then
Mhm.
you kill them, and then you plant.
Yep. They have to
So
be actively growing to be able
yeah,
to spray them and kill them.
it's just a rush with everything, and
Well,
I
I've seen a bunch of people say, "Do this early." get it in, or put this in before the leaf canopy comes on, and that type of thing. But that's they're not telling you the whole story either.
Hmm.
You know, you put it in early, like you just said, you get that flush, and it smothers out stuff. You
Hmm.
put this in early before the leaf canopy comes on. If you're worried about leaf canopy, obviously you don't have enough sunlight. So you answered your own question. You should be removing some trees or something to get some extra sunlight in there.
And I get, excuse me, I get why most people are doing that because they're leasing ground or and they don't have permission to cut trees for sunlight.
Yeah,
Well, I get it. I mean, could you try it? It might work, it may not, but I
right.
mean, don't I just think that if you can't cut the trees to get adequate sunlight, you're most likely just wasting your time and your resources,
Yeah,
unless you can get adequate sunlight. Maybe Mike had a good video on there the other day. If you're on a ag setting, leasing a farm or something or permission farm, and the farmer's planting, the fields, ask if you can just get a little corner of
yeah.
the
Ask if you can get
field.
a quarter, half acre, something.
Give the farmer, $100 or something, and or a couple $100 and get a little corner of the field to
Yeah,
allow you to plant. I mean, that's better than trying to go in the woods and trying to fight all the trees, robbing the moisture from your plot, and acidic soil and all this other stuff. I mean, I had to pay the farmer where I'm at, where I lease, because I'm taking an acre of field from him, so I got to pay to take that from him. So um, it's just an option. I mean, there's other spots where I could plant, but it's kind of in the woods, and
yeah.
it's not really worth it. So.
No, our intention here wasn't to discourage anybody, but we're trying to let you know your preparation starts last fall if
Hmm.
you wanted to plant something this spring and summer.
Right.
So this fall, because you're probably going to fail this year, or who knows, you might do okay. But this fall, be ready. Do your prep. If you're putting in a fall plot, mix in some clover and chicory, or some grains with it now, so that in the spring you've got a flush of something green coming. And
Well.
like Dave said, that'll help the soil. It'll build the soil. You'll have something in the ground 365. You know that the clover that's there is banking nitrogen for you for springtime. I mean, it's just a better idea, you know, to when you do something this fall, it'll help you next spring.
Hmm. And spend your resources on lime first.
Right. Yep.
Um,
Yep. Get your pH right, or your fertilizer's not working worth a darn for you
yeah.
anyhow.
And one last thing that I have is, if you look at all the YouTube videos out there that people are making videos, all the social media posts from actual people that are teaching food plots, look at their food plots.
Mhm.
They're beautiful. There's a reason why they're good looking. It's because they're following the proper steps. They're
Yeah.
not trying to plant something in the woods, um, and all that. So there's a difference there. You got the guys that are struggling, but then the guys that have these amazing plots.
Well,
That,
did you notice though the big name brand YouTubers don't have any woods plots?
mm-mm,
They only have field plots, and
mm-hmm,
that's what they show, and that's the pictures that they have in their videos, and everybody's like, "Oh wow, he's a food plot god. Look at his plots."
mm-hmm,
Well, yeah, because he's out in full sunlight,
yeah.
and he's done his
Well,
preparation, and he's done his planning, and he's
yeah,
got his pH correct, and it's easy for him because he's been doing it for years and knows all the ins and outs.
yeah.
And you're looking at him like a god, trying to figure out how to make a mirror image of that.
Well, look at the old farm where we cleared out that in the woods area.
Yeah.
We removed the trees. We used four wheelers. We used chainsaws. We drug them out of there. We
Hmm.
opened up a spot in the woods. The
Hmm.
pH was a 4.2.
Hmm.
We put tons of lime into this little
Literally tons.
quarter acre little area, and it was amazing.
Hmm.
But because we followed the steps, we fixed the soil, got some sunlight in there, rotated crops, and it was an amazing food plot. So it can be done in the woods, but you just have to follow the steps and realize that these plants need sunlight.
Yeah.
Have a plan.
Yeah. Yep. So might have stepped on some people's toes today, but
Be all right.
I think some stuff needed to be said. I still say get your plan, follow the right steps,
Yep.
and hopefully, I know that a lot of people out there don't always like to spray, but there's certain things out there that mowing will not kill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Dave said, just like your lawn. When you go mow your lawn, you're not killing your lawn. That stuff just keeps on coming.
Yep.
You know, so
That's why it's important with adequate seed rate. You know, you're putting on enough seed to shade out any weeds can come up, and you know, there's a lot of tricks. There's a lot of things in there to get it going. But yeah, so it can be done.
can be done.
That's podcast 72.
72.
Next time everybody will see us is I'll be in PA sleeping in my bed. I got my own bed.
You ain't got no bed.
I got a bed.
You'll be on a couch.
I got a spare bedroom.
You'll be in a couch.
All right.
I got so much stuff stacked on that other bed.
I'll be sleeping on the floor and a snake will attack me.
He'll be on the couch. We could pull out the couch bed.
There's probably a snake in there.
No.
All right. Well, we're going fishing. So
We're fishing.
we'll see everybody on podcast 73.
See you guys.
Later.